Hey everybody, my name is Daniel Pinto Gunderson. I'm the producer of the Mike McFeely Show, which you can hear every weekday from 2 to 5 p.m. on the mighty 790 KFGO. New video segment I'm starting here on the Mike McFeely Show page on KFGO.com called Pinto's Preview. And what it is I'm going to take 3 points that you can look for in the upcoming NDSU football game. This week, obviously, against Robert Morris, the home opener, the season opener. Kickoff 6 o'clock. You can hear that game right here on the mighty 790 KFGO. Also, look for more Bison things on KFGO.com coming up throughout the season. We're going to have podcasts. We're going to have interviews. We're going to have game recaps. We're going to have probably a midweek report where we look at the previous week's game against Robert Morris, say, and then we'll forward it on to the Colorado State game, a little preview of that game. Scott Miller, of course, will get his insight from it. Try to get Take McNamara from 740 The Fan. We'll get his insight on it. He'll be blogging from most home games that NDSU will have this year. Also, maybe Mike McFeely will hop on the podcast and discuss a little bit about that, and also on his show, the Joel Heitkamp News and Views Show. Look for NDSU throughout the season on KFGO.com. At the first point, the first thing I want everybody to look for coming up into this Robert Morris game is John Crockett at running back for NDSU. On the 2-deep chart, he's going to be behind Sam Ojuri, who's listed as the starting running back for NDSU. Don't read too much into that. Last year, Sam Ojuri was the leading rusher for NDSU, and he was listed as the backup running back to DJ McNorton. NDSU loves to use their running backs. Interchange them, depending on the situation, depending on who's running the ball better. It doesn't matter for Coach Bull in this offense who's getting the carries as long as they're getting the yards. John Crockett, in my mind, a guy who was highly recruited out of high school by Big Ten schools, will be someone that will have a huge impact on the season, and his coming out party will be against Robert Morris this Saturday, Gate City Bank Field at the Fargo Dome. Look for him to maybe get over 100 yards. It's a young, inexperienced Robert Morris defense. Look for Mr. Crockett to take advantage of that. And also look for him to have a big season as the year goes on, and someone that kind of flying under the radar right now, by week 6 or 7, will be someone teams will be keen for in upcoming games against NDSU. Point 2 I'd like to make is look for the inexperience on the offensive line for NDSU and the lack of depth at defensive linebacker for NDSU. Josh Colville, Joe Haig, redshirt freshman, will be starting on the offensive line for NDSU. If you look at the defensive linebacker position, Grant Olson, Travis Beck, and Carlton Littlejohn will be your starting linebackers. Behind them is not a lot of known names, a lot of inexperience there, especially at one of the outside linebacker positions in Esley Thornton. Esley Thornton was the backup quarterback for all of last year and came into fall camp at that position, but suddenly a couple weeks ago he switched over to defensive linebacker. Now he's an athlete. He'll be able to play that position. He'll get playing time against Robert Morris, but how is he going to react? How is he going to do on defense? How is he going to read the linemen of Robert Morris and Colorado State and every team from here on out? Because he's going to have a big part on this defense. NDSU loves to use their depth. We see it on the defensive line where they shuffle in and out guys. They do it in the defensive backfield. We're going to see that this year. So how is he going to do? How is that lack of depth at linebacker going to do? Offensive linemen, we spoke about the redshirt freshman. You still have Joel Lund, Billy Turner, 2 guys you can really rely on this team. But the offensive line, because NDSU loves to go to the ground game so often, it's going to be a huge key. How are they going to handle that aspect of the game? The third and final point I'd like to make is who's going to step up as a leader on this team. Last year, guys like Matt Velman, DJ McNorton, Preston Evans made sure the team never looked at the next game ahead of them, always took it a game at a time, got them to the championship, won them a championship game. That leadership was so key for this team as they went through the season. This year, your captains on offense, Garrett Brune and Joe Lund. On defense, Grant Olson and Cole Zurich. How are those guys going to step up into that captain, into that leadership role, and make a difference for this team? It's not always what you do on the field, but it's how you are vocally in practice, during games, always lifting up the young guys after a bad play, holding the older players responsible for plays that they miss. Here's 2 guys I want you to look for, one on offense, one on defense, to be leaders as this team moves forward as the season goes on. Brock Jensen on offense at quarterback. That's the obvious leadership position. You're the captain of the team. You're the helm of the offense. You've got to step up and be vocal. I think he can. Good kid, great head on his shoulders. He'll be someone that will take over this team and lead them offensively, not only with his production on the field, but how he acts off the field. Defensively, Grant Olson. The guy has been around this team for 3 years, has had a huge impact. In fact, led the team in tackles in their first FCS playoff game against Robert Morris 2 years ago at the Fargo Dome. Look for him to be a vocal guy, to come out and do exactly what leaders are supposed to do. Obviously, he's a guy that this team is looking for leadership, named a captain in the preseason before the Robert Morris game. And those are my 3 points. My prediction on the final score, NDSU 56-6. They win this one running away. Robert Morris, they're not going to hold much of a chance against NDSU with everything that the Bison have going for them. Momentum-wise, stepping into the first game of the season. You're going to have a sellout crowd, a wild crowd, a crowd that's been waiting basically since January for this team to kick off a shot at winning another FCS title. You've got the 2011 National Championship banner being raised on this opening game. Plus, you've got a team with a lot of experience. A lot of those guys who were sophomores last year, juniors now, have been through a lot with this team. 2 playoff runs, 2 deep playoff runs. This is just going to be a great kickoff for NDSU. The only thing you hope for, no more injuries. You got to cross your fingers because of the game next week against Colorado State down in Fort Collins. For Pinto's Previews, I'm Daniel Gunderson.